My name is Mama.
And my name is Mama.
Amara, do you like Jingle Jangle?
Yeah, I do, Mom.
What's your favorite song?
Square would have been possible, and me, and me. Recapping with Delora and Ashley.
Thank you!
Delora.
Ashley!
We are back, honey, and it is episode
10.
Can you believe we've made it? We've made it.
We've grown up so fast.
I know, right? Just yesterday, we were babies. And now we grown.
Double digits.
And because we're grown, as we said last week, we're about to take a celebratory shot together. So anybody listening, if this is an appropriate hour for you, and I'll let you decide what that means.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly. So, Delora, what you taking a shot of?
Girl, The Rock's Tiamata.
When I tell you I tried to find that liquor, my little hole in the wall liquor store up the street did not have it. So it's okay. I'm drinking Crown Vanilla.
To be specific. So right. Tequila. Yes.
Is yours chilled?
It is. We keep ours in the freezer.
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Mine is also chilled. Crown Vanilla, because I love my whiskey.
Yes.
So cheers, darling, to episode 10.
Salud.
Salud.
Wow. Why do I do this to myself? Wow.
Look, you're a straight no chaser too. I'm sure about to drink just a little bit of Coke real quick.
Oh yeah, no chaser. It feels so warm.
Yeah, you're a G. When I tell you, I have not drank tequila in a long time. I'm a little afraid. When I get that bottle of Terramana, I'm a little afraid of what I'm going to do. I'll be calling you over video chat like, oh my God, I'm bouncing off the walls.
What did I do?
Exactly. But it'd be fun though. That's going to be my birthday for next week. But anyway, we've taken our celebratory shot. Guys, welcome back to Recapping with
Delora
and Ashley.
Welcome.
As we said, it is episode 10. And for those of you who have stuck with us since episode 1, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. For those of you who are new, welcome. And Delora, 'tis the season. Let's talk about favorite Christmas movies, since we're about to recap today a new one, Jingle Jangle.
Yes.
That dropped on Netflix. So kind of historically looking back, what is your favorite Christmas movie you love, just have to watch during this time of year?
I have to watch Home Alone.
First one or the second one?
Always the first.
Okay.
Always. Okay. And as an adult, or I saw this movie as a teenager, but obsessed, The Holiday.
Oh,
classic.
That's a good one. That's one that not a lot of people have on their list.
It is one of my favorites. I love a Nancy moment. It's just amazing. It's very, what's Nancy Myers? She knows how to do the rom-com so well.
I tell you, Cameron Diaz made me consider a new career path because she had the business that did movie trailers. And so that's the first time I ever started thinking strongly about like, hey, I may want to do production and I may want to do movie trailer production. I know. Yeah. So I appreciate that film for that as well. Opened up a new avenue of thought for me. So thank you.
You know me. It's the look. It's the expensive homes, the cozy English cottage.
It was beautiful. I love both of their homes. I love both of their homes.
I did too, for different reasons. And the music, I'm a sucker for a score. I love the music in that movie. So what about yours?
And Jude Law was looking really a little delicious in that
I
one as
never cared for him until that film, honestly.
Yeah, he was a little delicious. My favorite, I have 2 written down, one from childhood and like you said, just kind of one that, both really childhood, but one that's more just nostalgia, and that's the Santa Claus, Tim Allen. Have
Oh
to
my
watch the Santa Claus
gosh.
every single year.
Yes.
And none of the sequels, okay? That we do not speak of the sequels. The
Really?
original. No, the original only for me.
You know, I do appreciate Tim Allen. Obviously grew up watching Home Improvement, but he always pays homage to his home state, and i.e. Detroit. So I'm always loving his Detroit references and the things that he does.
All right. And then my second one is The Preacher's Wife, because
Lord, that
Whitney
soundtrack.
Houston, Whitney Houston is still, again, my favorite singer of all time. Every year when I watch it, it's as if I'm watching it for the first time. I feel like I just continue to have reactions.
Why isn't it on anyone's streaming service?
I have no idea. We have it on DVD at my mom's house, so I usually watch it when I'm there.
We never owned it, but I've only seen it a handful of times, and I always feel uncomfortable when I watch it because there's an affair between a wife and a pastor wife and an angel.
I mean, it was not technically an affair, Dolores.
It was emotionally going there. Okay, Ashley.
That is true. And listen, the grace that I give the film in that respect is that in the moment, even though those feelings were developing, you can either lean into that or you can lean out of that. And thankfully, Denzel and Whitney Houston came to the point where
the bands did not deserve. That's all I.
But I'm just saying, there was a point where they pulled back out of it, and I appreciate that. You may catch a little feeling, but that doesn't mean you have to lean into that and have the full blown.
Denzel had to go back to heaven.
He did,
but
listen,
I
he's enjoying his humanity. I
absolutely love that soundtrack.
First of all, soundtrack
Epic.
is still fire to this day.
Fire.
Joy to the World that she sang with the choir is on my Christmas track list still to this day.
That is why she was the voice, because I still get goosebumps over some of her performances.
I Believe in You and Me, when he said, if you've never heard what love sounds like, what's his name? Oh my goodness, I'm about to call him Smokey Robinson, but it was not Smokey Robinson. Please forgive me. Oh my goodness. What is his name, Delora?
I don't know.
Black legendary singer, Lionel Richie. Richie. When they went to the jazz club at that scene, and that was the one her and Courtney went to when they were early in their relationship. Yes. So that's my favorite scene from the entire film, is when she gets up on that stage and she sings I Believe in You and Me. But overall, love that film. Love it. Anyway, we have a couple of hot topics that we're going to get into. And the first one is really one of the biggest hot topics, obviously, of 2020, and that is COVID.
2020.
We haven't really touched on COVID for the pod, but we have an entertainment slant to it as always, and that is really that celebrities have not been immune whatsoever to this, right, Delora? We've seen
money can't save you.
Exactly. We've seen multiple cases, and most recently, we've seen Ellen DeGeneres testing positive for COVID. She was recently talking about
she got it.
Listen, hey, some people need to rehab their PR. So whether or not
she can't
it's
get no
legitimate or not, I'm gonna leave that on the table because I don't know for sure. The ratings
are low, sis.
I don't know for sure. All I will say is she said she has severe back pain. So Ellen, we wish you a speedy. Nope, that's why I said.
Laughing. That's
we wish you a speedy recovery, Ellen, because I'm not gonna judge you, ma'am. I don't know your life situation.
Real talk. No, I don't wish COVID on nobody.
No.
And if she did in fact get it, this is what tequila does to me. I'm sorry.
Y'all listen. That Terramana, like I said, we gonna see how I do with it when I'm drinking it for my birthday. I may be posting some weird stuff on social media, but anyway. Ellen, we wish you a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, 100%.
Also, the Verses with Ashanti and Keisha Cole got canceled over the weekend. That was really highly anticipated, right? Ashanti literally hours prior it was announced. So, again, no celebrities have been immune. Jeremiah was one of the most recent, severe cases that really struck me.
Most severe. Oh, well, I take that back.
You had Nick, who died, who was a Broadway performer early on. And
then Debo.
Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you for that, by the way, because I almost forgot. R.I.P. To Debo from Friday, who passed away. It was not funny, but the fact that people were posting the memes about he had to die on a Friday, y'all are wild. Listen,
I can't with the internet, especially when it comes to RIP. But I think it hasn't been confirmed, but people are saying that it might have been due to corona complications. And so, yes, but Jeremiah, that was really intense.
Touch and go.
And I even saw a headline that said that he saw a light at one point. So
he said he woke up twice. He saw a white light, and then he had to relearn all his basic functions. He had to relearn to walk. He had to, so his was severe. And again, I was hearing about it really from like 50 Cent posting about it, Chance the Rapper posting about it.
Yes, like
and
his
he's
crew.
33. So that's what was most concerning. Supposedly no pre-existing conditions, 33 years old. It was dramatic that he was able to, because what he said was basically, you know how they say that COVID causes kind of the inflammation of a lot of the other organs. And so his did. So his heart stopped. He had a lot of complications. Wow. So again, you know, some people think to not take this seriously if you're young, relatively young, in good health. Obviously, you have no idea how it's going to impact you no matter what age or health condition you're in.
And that's the part that makes it so overwhelming, frankly.
For sure, because you just never know. And the most recent one was Tom Cruise and this rant that he allegedly went on the set of Mission Impossible 7. Again, I say allegedly, just for legality purposes. We don't want to get sued out here. No. On the set of Mission Impossible 7, the UK's Sun newspaper cited some exclusive audio tape where Tom Cruise basically, apparently some of the crew weren't adhering to social distancing measures. He said, I don't ever want to see it again, ever. And if you do it, you're fired. If I see you do it again, you're fucking gone. And if anyone in this crew does it, that's it. And you too, and you too. So don't know who exactly he was supposedly talking about. Supposedly there was maybe 2 people who were within, you know, less than 6 feet apart, what have you. George Clooney has commented on this. This has been really a hot topic. What were your thoughts when you heard this rant?
I thought it was refreshing and needed.
Okay.
I didn't see a problem with it because I'm thinking from his perspective. He is not only the lead who cannot afford to get sick, he's also a producer of the film. So he's thinking about that money and the money that already goes into making sure that production is up and running without any hiccups. And then you're blatantly disregarding the rules and guidelines put in place to keep everyone safe. Someone had to say something. And if it's not him, he's the leader, the head of that movie set. If it wasn't from him, I mean, who else is going to do it? And honestly, it was refreshing. Somebody had to have that type of gumption behind protecting people. You know, there's plenty of prima donnas in entertainment. So I'm sure that's not the first rant, and it won't be the last, Christian Bale. You remember that?
Oh, I mean, even Joaquin Phoenix, right, on the set of The Joker, he had a whole moment.
And that was over petty stuff. At least this is about something that's actually relevant.
Yeah, my thing with this, and I think you summed it up beautifully, was this is very serious. You know, it'd be different if this was not a life and death situation for many people. You talk about people's livelihoods are in jeopardy. He is the head of this production, right? He is the star of the film. They mentioned in the article on CNN, 12 members of the crew had already tested positive for COVID back in October. They've already had delays. And Tom even goes on to say in his quote, you can tell this to the people who are losing their fucking homes because our industry is shut down. It's not going to put food on their table or pay for their college education. That's what I sleep with every night. The future of this fucking industry. So excuse my language, folks, but I think the point I think the point just is that this is serious. If there are people that he's seen, and again, you have no idea what the context is. He could have seen these people do this multiple times. Yeah. He could have been having a moment where, you know, maybe somebody close to him or somebody around has passed away. I know I recently just had a coworker who just lost a parent to COVID. So the realities of it every day exactly are severe. So I wasn't upset about it. I don't feel any type of way when I hear things like this. Again, I get it that people like celebrities to have this image sometimes of being these others where they don't have human moments. This was a human moment for Tom Cruise, and I'm not mad at it. He has some other things that I don't necessarily want to get into that I question him about, but this was not one of them. Even back in the day when he had the situation with Brooke Shields, he was trying to say, postpartum depression wasn't real. I'm saying he's had multiple moments over time that have concerned me. This was not necessarily one of them. So again, this is very serious. I understand. Just was curious as to your thoughts on that. So our second hot topic of the day is also very serious, just in a different way. Shia LaBeouf and FKA Twiggs. So FKA Twiggs, for folks who are not familiar, is a singer, dancer, visual artist. She has sued Shia LaBeouf. Yes. She's also British. So if people in America are not necessarily familiar, she's British. She is suing her ex-boyfriend, who is actor Shia LaBeouf, who you may be familiar with from, his Disney days on Even Stevens, from big blockbuster films like the Transformers, Indiana Jones. He's also been in some recent critically acclaimed films like The Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boy, which Honey Boy is actually where he and FKA Twiggs met. So FKA Twiggs is suing him for sexual battery, assault, and infliction of emotional distress. They dated about 1 year, Delora, between 2018 and 2019, as I mentioned, after working together on that film. In the statement in the lawsuit, it says Shia LaBeouf hurts women. He uses them. He abuses them, both physically and mentally. He is dangerous. The lawsuit goes on to lay out a slew of horrific allegations. And Shia has come out and said that supposedly not all of this is true, but that he has a history of abusive behavior towards himself as well as the people who are closest to him.
When he's not sober.
When he's not sober, because he does have apparently alcoholism that he deals with. So what were your thoughts, Laura, about this story when it dropped?
Disappointment overall. I know a little bit about FKA Twiggs. Did I say that right?
Yep.
I know a little bit about her. I know she's had some high-profile relationships. She once dated Robert Pattinson at one point too, and
I think they were even engaged.
And I've always seen her from afar, thought she was super talented, but I also know that she, even though she's had these high profile relationships, she hasn't necessarily been very vocal about, the essence of those relationships. And so for her to come out with something like this, it had to be something serious. So I was disappointed in Shia. I have been a longtime fan of his. We grew up watching him, my sister and I grew up watching him on Even Stevens. I mean, I followed his career from Holes to Transformers to that awful Indiana Jones movie. And, I've always rooted for him. And he's always seemed off kilter for sure, right?
In the latter years, absolutely.
Yes.
The latter years,
I mean,
absolutely.
Everything from his, performance art situation to, I don't know, he's been a bit off. And to see that it has manifest, like, I guess my assumptions weren't necessarily completely off, because if this is true, it's horrific. It's horrific. And just really sad, disappointed. And I hope that FKA gets some peace. And I'm actually proud of her for standing up for herself. And the incident that was reported, unfortunately, in an unhealthy society, some people may be like, oh, well, he just had a bad day. But no, that was wrong.
Yeah, and not the multiple things. I didn't go into all of it. Folks, you can go online and read about a lot of the detail. I mean, there were multiple incidents where she felt afraid to even get up in the middle of the night because he would have a loaded gun that he kept in bed with them. He would choke her. He would choke her. He was doing violent things against her, slamming her against a car, all sorts of things. To add to this too, Delora, was one of his former girlfriends is also a part of this, named Carolyn Foe, who is joining forces with FKA Twiggs in the lawsuit, it sounds like. And then you also have the singer Sia, who has come out in support of FKA Twiggs and this as well, and basically said that she too has had to deal with his behavior. She basically said, I too have been hurt emotionally by Shia, a pathological liar who conned me into an adulterous relationship claiming to be single. I believe he's very sick and have compassion for him and his victims. Just know if you love yourself, stay safe, stay away.
And you never hear her talk about her private life, let alone see her face. So that it's major, and it's important what Twiggs is doing, and I'm happy that I'm sure she's doing this for herself, and she deserves.
Yeah. I'm completely on the same page with you. I was also reading just today as I was trying to prepare for the podcast that they first tried to do this privately, but then Shia was essentially trying to downplay some of the things, like apparently he gave her an STD knowingly.
Yes.
Apparently he was trying to blackmail her to a certain extent by saying, hey, I have certain things that I will release if you move forward with this. So, I think the severity of it in my mind obviously was very worthwhile for her to come forward and try to protect other women from this potential situation as well. But also for herself, right? Because it saddens me so much. I think sometimes when you hear about celebrities, especially, you think, well, you have money and you have, celebrity and that comes with popularity and all these things. Oh, things like that don't happen to you. She's still a woman. She's still a human being. So to think that these things happened to her was heartbreaking when I read the story.
And if anything, artists are some of the most sensitive people. So
absolutely.
Yes.
But it's just, the to imagine the potential terror that she went through during that period of time just broke my heart. And to your point too, I really have only known about FKA Twiggs from afar, from her relationship with Robert Pattinson, things like that. But, my heart goes out to her for sure. And I hope that, that for sure there is some form of justice that is served with this, now that these allegations have come to light. So,
Yes.
I did want to move back because I realized I failed to ask you something important about our first hot topic, which was the COVID vaccine was where I was inevitably going to go with our discussion on COVID. Got sidetracked by the Tom Cruise rant. How are you feeling about the COVID vaccine? Our most recent stats about COVID are that in the US, over 307,000 deaths, nearly 17 million cases. We're starting to hear about some of the allergic reactions of the Pfizer vaccine that has been released, which are also
a low number, but yes.
But also, the potential for Bell's palsy. An article came out about that. I actually had a conversation yesterday with a nurse that made me to continue to have certain concerns about the vaccine, but let me not put that onto you. How are you feeling? What are you thinking about the potential of these vaccines? Are you first in line?
No, I am not. And I'm going to say this because I'm going to be responsible for this answer because we are on this particular platform. The only reason why I'm not first in line is because I am not a frontline worker and I am not, a healthcare provider by trade. So I am a wait and see type of person. Again, I'm trying to be impeccable with my words. So here's the deal. Do I believe in vaccinations? Absolutely. But is there a history of the medical community and the Black community, specifically African Americans in this country? Yes. I will highly recommend everybody who wants to bring up Tuskegee, go to Nicole Hannah-Jones' Twitter. She has this wonderful thread that talks about that, bringing up, for those who don't know, Tuskegee experiment was when they were essentially experimenting on African American men and syphilis. But what's important to know about that situation is that these men had this disease, but they were not being treated. So essentially medical treatment was withheld from them. Whereas, But then there's a whole lot of other examples of Black people being experimented. But what I'm trying to say,
gynecological experiment, all sorts of
girl,
craziness.
Henrietta Lacks. But
yes.
With all that being said, I do anticipate taking the vaccine eventually. I don't know how I feel about it being synthetic, because you are not going to be, I'm not a medical professional. I'm going to put that out there. But what I have read and what I've heard in the news is that it's like a synthetic, form of the virus. So if you come in contact with it, your body should be able to fight it off. But there's still a lot of unknowns. They don't know if you can still spread it. They don't know that for sure. They don't know if you can still contract it. I think there's still always a possibility of contracting it. So there's just a lot of questions. And because my behind is at home 99% of the time as of late, I'm just going to keep it that way until things get a little bit more, I let the dust settle a little bit more, if that makes any sense.
For sure. And I mean, to be honest, you don't even have that option yet, right? Because
exactly, it's not even available to me.
States are abiding by certain rules that were, or guidelines rather, not rules, that were set out to say, hey, these are the first waves of people who should get it. Absolutely. And to your point, Delora, I know that we do have a platform. So I also want to be careful to not try to cast doubt upon this, but I will say for myself personally, I do have my reservations. And that is to your point about historically, there have been situations with minorities and African Americans where things have been, that things have happened to us that, give me pause, but also the speed in which this vaccine was created.
Yes.
And my lack of full knowledge and information about the ramifications, the side effects, just makes me hesitant. And I am not a first adopter or early adopter of anything. That includes technology. So when you tell me about this vaccine that was created in a matter of months versus most vaccines need years,
yes,
to be ready to be distributed. Yes, absolutely, I have reservations. I am for once actually very happy that I don't work in healthcare, and that's no shade to our wonderful healthcare workers.
Thank you for your service, because at this point it is definitely service.
I've had those conversations with my friends who do work in healthcare. Just sent a text to one of my girls today who is a nurse about, hey, they started saying you're going to have to get this sometime soon, because they are concerned as well. I don't think there's anybody who's hearing about this that does not want to know, hey, what is this you're really trying to inject into me, and how is it going to potentially affect my body? And then also, what is the time frame in which this is supposed to really going to cover me? Is this going to be like an annual shot that everybody has to take, like the flu?
Yes.
Or is this supposedly going to be a lifetime guarantee of, hey, I am now going to be good against COVID? Those are questions that I need more answers to and more understanding of.
Absolutely. And what I mean by it's now considered service, like hopefully in this administration, we have a national day of mourning or multiple days of mourning, because this is something that has hit this is catastrophic to our country. This is worse. This is, I believe, and forgive me if I'm wrong, more casualties than World War II, in terms of, I think those numbers were in the 200,000s, you know what I mean? And so I hope they all get medals of Purple Hearts and all that, because at this rate, it's just, I pray for them often. I do believe in a higher power, because I can't imagine how it feels to be on the front lines and maintaining hope. You know what I mean? Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Exactly.
The mental health for me has been the biggest thing that I think about with them on a regular basis, right? Like those of us in 2020, we know how much we have struggled, those of us who do not work in healthcare, right? Just to sustain and maintain our well-being because of the years been. So imagine seeing it every single day and being there for those deaths, having to be the one that holds someone's hand for the last time. I listen to the Start Here ABC podcast, shout out, every single morning. And they actually had a nurse who almost lost her life interviewed on the podcast recently. It was the first time that I was really brought to tears.
Wow.
Really hearing this story and hearing about the camaraderie that all of those healthcare workers tried to have around her, because they realized not only obviously do we need you as a human being, but we can't have our healthcare workers dropping like flies, because then we won't have anybody to sustain our healthcare system.
Well, there's already been talks on how there's going to be a shortage of doctors and nurses. There've always been a shortage of nurses. Even when I was in high school, they were like trying to recruit heavy.
Yes, which is why you guys get paid, hopefully, as much as you deserve.
Exactly.
My level of gratitude for healthcare workers, for nurses, for doctors, for anybody in the medical field right now has exponentially increased in this year. And you just, again, realize the depth that it takes to really go through that. And again, I think it takes a special personality and special people
absolutely
to deal with some of the things we've had to deal with. And again, God bless you all. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Delora, I wanted to move into our micro dose of today to lighten things up just a little bit, guys. Chloe and Halle's tiny desk. First of all, I love tiny desks. Second of all,
always
love Chloe and Halle. Girl, when I tell you I've watched this at least 3 or 4 times.
A fan since day one.
It dropped on December 8th on YouTube. What did you think overall of the experience? And then what was your favorite song that they performed?
Okay.
And this was for the Ungodly Hour album that they dropped this year, by the way, for everybody listening. Absolutely. Absolutely. Go girls. I love y'all. Go ahead.
I love them. I enjoyed it. Okay. And I say that because there's an asterisk. Okay. So obviously I love the stage. They have been making them, making $1 out of 99 cents. Well, their performances all year long, right?
Yes.
From tennis court.
Yes.
For this tiny desk. I love how they were still casual, but they're so cute. I just love them so much.
Yes.
My favorite song, I wonder what she thinks of me. I like that song. I'm not in love with that song, but I appreciated it live. And
Chloe's vocals on
that's what I was trying to say. Like vocals
gave me chills.
It is beautiful, but it is not my favorite song. And so that's my little asterisk. They didn't sing any of my favorite songs. My favorite songs off that album are the following. Okay. Busy Boy. Okay. Yeah. Love me some Busy Boy. Lonely.
Yeah.
Love Lonely. And then there was another one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they didn't sing any of my favorites. So, and Do It is not one of my favorites. I know that's their lead single, and I know they have fun with it, but it's just not my fave. But what about you? What's your favorite song or favorite performance that they sang?
Yeah, they started off on the top with my favorite, which is "Don't Make It Harder on Me, Don't Make It Harder on Me." I love that song. I thought they started it so strong with that and then ended so strong with the song that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Because again, vocally, Wonder What She Thinks of Me is just so juicy. Like I was getting chills when they were singing it. I love the setting, the background of that performance.
Yes.
I love the all-girl band.
I did too. I also love it was well lit for brown people. Love that.
I was gonna say I love their makeup, like the eyeliner that Chloe had was fabulous.
Their skin is always amazing too.
Yeah, I even love the casualness of like their athletic attire. They were barefoot, like it just felt so cozy. But at the same time,
see that they definitely
I saw the
like
crystals.
they charge the crystals in a full moon.
Okay, listen, Beyonce. I love because they obviously are signed to Beyonce's label.
Thank you for picking that up.
Of course. But yeah, I love the whole thing. Again, I've watched it so many times and it just keeps getting better every time I watch it. I could not keep my eyes off of them. Like there's just something magic between the two of them that I just so thoroughly enjoy when I see them perform. So
they're like hauntingly talented, right? And that's why I love them so much, because I grew up loving like the minors and like some people may call it scary music, but like that gothic sound, that use of like minor chords and everything like that, and they lean into that, and that's what makes them unique unique and they put it into pop music. You know what I mean? And
they're also, to our conversation last podcast, so heavily involved in every element of their music. They write, they sing, they produce, they do it all. So
they are definitely girl power for sure.
Yes, that excites me so much about them. And again, we've seen them grow up. And let me say, they are the first people ever to make me truly consider doing locks to my hair, because because I love to change my hair up so much, and they keep it so interesting with all the styles that they do with their locks. I'm like,
girl, they have the budget. Okay,
they do. But listen, me and my hairdresser, shout out to my hairdresser Ukali, we can work it out. We can make it work. If I decide to go that route,
and they keep it up very well. I'm sure they smell wonderful.
Beautiful. Their hair is beautiful.
I'm sure it smells like essential oils.
Yeah. And everything. I just imagine they smell like roses. I don't know. I just love them. But I just want to touch on that because, again, I think they're worth a shout out. And I love that they're growing up and they're staying so true to themselves. It seems like
Halle deserves her role as Ariel. Anyone who doubted it has not heard her sing. Okay?
The Little Mermaid, guys. She is cast as Ariel in the upcoming live action Little Mermaid film that will be coming out. So love them, excited about it. And Delora, I'm going to toss it over to you, girl, for our recap of Jingle Jangle.
Jingle Jangle. I can't believe we're here.
Yes.
All right, Ashley. I'm like cheesing so hard right now. It is my pleasure to recap Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey. Mm-hmm. It is a Netflix original musical. Rated PG. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes long, and it premiered November 13th, 2020. So, a quick summary. An imaginary world comes to life in a holiday tale of an eccentric toy maker, his adventurous granddaughter, and a magical invention that has the power to change their lives forever. It has a star-studded cast. Forrest Whitaker as Geronicus Jango, of course, Forrest legend, but we know him best for his Oscar-winning role in The Last King of Scotland, Lee Daniels, The Butler, and more recently, The Godfather of Harlem, which is a TV series he's in. And we can't forget Black Panther, 2018 film. We also have Keegan-Michael Key. His character is Gustafson. We know Key for him being one half of the dynamic duo of Key and Peele. They had their own sketch comedy show on Comedy Central from 2012 to 2015. And he also does a lot of voiceover work. He's the narrator for the Green Eggs and Ham show that's on Netflix. And more recently than even Jingle Jangle, he's in the Broadway film adaptation of The Prom that's on Netflix right now. We have Hugh Bonneville. He plays Mr. Delacroix. He's best known for his work in Downton Abbey. And also, he was also in Notting Hill, which makes me smile. That came out in 1999.
He sure was. He sure was.
Nika Noni Rose as Jessica. She is the voice of Disney's first animated Black princess. The film Princess and the Frog came out in 2009. Princess Tiana. And she's going to reprise her role in Tiana, as Disney recently announced in their rollout movies and TV shows. She also was in Dreamgirls, and she was the crazy mama in Everything, Everything, which is the film adaptation of the book of the same name from 2017. We have Madeline Mills as Journey. This is her introduction to film, and she was phenomenal. Some fun facts about her: she is a Broadway kid, which is evident in her performance. She was the youngest child performer ever cast in a year-long production of Andrew Lloyd Webber's School of Rock. So that happened in 2018. And then she made her first professional theater debut at the age of 8 in the Broadway national tour of Dr. Seuss' How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical.
Oh, I heard David Talbert refer to her turn as Journey as the equivalent of Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz. So that was very strong. That was a very strong endorsement of that young lady.
I love it.
Yes.
We have the wonderful, the marvelous Felicia Rashad. We're going to refer to her as Grandma for now.
Okay.
You know, legend. We know her best for her role in The Cosby Show, but more recently she has been in Creed with Michael A. Jordan playing his mama. And she also played Beth's mom in This Is Us, which was also epic. I think she deserved a guest Emmy on that for sure, but I don't think she got it. No. And she'll be in Soul, that's coming out on Christmas Day, Disney Plus film starring, or animated film starring Jamie Foxx. We have Ricky Martin as Don Juan Diego. And we know him for living La Vida Loca. And he's now an actor. His most prominent role up to before this particular project was American Crime Story Versace. And he played...
It's your fine ass, Ricky.
Yes,
Aging so beautifully, sir.
So well.
Yes.
And then we have a lot of newcomers. Justin Cornwell, he plays young Geronicus. He's been on some shows, but they've been canceled. So this is, in my opinion, probably his biggest break. Sharon Rose, the woman who plays Joanne Django, who is Geronicus' wife, who can sing her ass off. Lisa Davina Phillips, who also equally can sing her ass off.
Miss Johnston!
Miss Johnston.
My favorite character. Let me say that right now. I love her so much.
Kieran Dyer is Edison.
Oh, he's so cute.
First role. Miles Barrow is young Gustafson. So we have Deanna Bovnikova as a young Jessica. We have the big dog himself, David E. Talbert, who is the director, the writer, producer. And we also have his lovely wife, Lynn Sesson Talbert, and another well-known producer. These aren't all the producers, but the ones that, you know, we all know. John Legend is also a producer of the film. So Ashley, this film is rated on Rotten Tomatoes for critics at 90%.
Wow.
For audience is 76%, but it's still a popcorn. And then I actually found Roger Ebert's rating, which I thought was interesting. He gave it 3.5 stars. So overall, I've heard positive things about this film. So Ashley, any thoughts on the cast or overall ratings for this film?
You want me to go ahead and give my grade?
Go ahead.
Okay. So obviously, again, amazing stellar cast, Black excellence and minority excellence across the board. My grade for this is an A-. And I spent quite a bit of time thinking about that grade. I think for me, the A- comes from the same reason why you gave the 40-year-old version an A-, which was the ending. And we're going to get there. The ending was a little goofy to me. But overall, I love the diversity. I love that when I've read articles, David E. Talbert talks about wanting to give his children something as Black people that they can look to and see themselves represented in, because when he looks at a lot of the films that we had as children, like Willy Wonka, he mentioned Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
One of his favorite films.
He said it's not only white kids do not get to be magical. So for those reasons, for the music, for the magic, because I love magic.
Yes.
It gets an A- for me. So
yes.
what were you? What's your grade for this one?
Oh my goodness, it's A plus 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 plus. I mean, I don't know if I gave it away much sooner than that, but this film has been
I had no doubts.
in this house ever since we saw it November 13th. Okay, it is so magical. I mean, okay, so spoiler alert, we're gonna go into a little bit more of our impressions, and then we'll go through the recap. Ashley, the first time I saw a trailer for this movie, because I didn't know it was coming, right? Felicia Rashad decided to get on freaking Instagram, so of course follow, right? The first thing she put on her Instagram after she did a whole video talking about why she's joining Instagram, which I love, right? Like, it's such a thing women of that generation joining social media does, right? It's like, I'm on this platform now and blah, 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 right? This was the first project she put on her Instagram. And so when I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh, I live for things like this. Like when I first saw it, I was like, it not only has the magical component, but I was like, yes, come through budget. Okay. This looks expensive. Okay. And it's like from the Dickerson is giving me, Dickerson vibes, and that's like the Christmas Carol vibes or whatever, right. But with Black people. My mind also went straight to Disney's rendition of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, because at first I thought it was going to be like colorblind casting, how it didn't matter what color the performers were, you get the role. So I assumed that was it, but no, it's all Black folks, which I love and I don't have a problem with. And overall, when I saw that it was a musical, I was holding my breath, okay? Because when it comes to musicals in today's era, they're not always triple threats. You know what I mean? I.e. La La Land.
La La Land. I knew you were about to say that because, yeah, we're on the same page.
Because the songs in La La Land was there, but the actual talent of vocals and of dancing, it was missed greatly, okay? And so
I'm glad we're not reviewing La La Land, because that would be a miss for me. And that is no shade to the talents of both Ryan Gosling, who learned how to play piano, and Emma Stone in that film, but that was a miss for me. Sorry. If you can't sing,
you shouldn't be in a musical.
It's a miss. So
it's a miss.
Yeah.
And so when we get to the first songs and we see young Geronicus and Joanne sing, I was like, oh yes, this is it. This is okay. I think we're gonna be okay. I don't know where Forrest falls into this because he's the actor, but okay, Ashley, it's all you.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. The music and the musicality was absolutely on point. Obviously, again, the casting makes a huge difference in just the star power and the performances really getting taken to another level. And also the magical factor of it. Like, it's Christmas time and holiday time.
Is so real.
It's been 2020. So as I've said multiple times in this podcast, I'm always here for the lighter hearted fare. And I love magic. I love any magical type of adventure that I can go on. I am all about fantasy genre. And one of my impressions I wrote down too is loyalty, which we're obviously going to get into once we start getting more into the recap. But that's really about my thoughts around, the betrayal that happens to Geronicus very early on in the film. So
it's almost to the point where I'm like, can kids take this? Like,
that may be something that a lot of kids, when they rewatch it as adults, because that's one of my favorite things about films when I look back, is like my impressions of them as a kid, and then as a teenager, then as in my 20s, now in my 30s. Like, your journey with films changes as you get older and you approach the characters differently. So I'm sure a lot of kids, a lot of this may go over their heads now, but they'll watch it again later with their kids and be like, oh, this was so impactful, you know? So I think it was, again, overall, I loved the film. I think that, you know, as I watch it for my second time, even more than my first time, it was just like, oh, some of these things, some of these central life things are so relevant right now. You know, the idea of overcoming a lot of adversity.
I was going to say, getting up after taking such a major fall.
2 major falls, right? 2.
Yes.
He has to really deal with. And especially, again, in 2020 being what this year has been, I think it was such a positive message to have. And again, just because I've read more and I know what David and his wife are really trying to accomplish with this,
which made me love the form. If it were possible, made me love this film even more. So Felicia Rashad is a grandmother, and there's a young boy and a young girl, and their brother and sister, and they're disagreeing about whether or not there's some flames going on, magical flames going on in the fireplace. And grandma decided to, you know, bring out this gorgeous book. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you know, let me tell you about this tale about Geronicus Jangle. So speaking of representation, or just seeing Black people on film, or Black storytellers, can we talk about how Black Geronicus Jangle, that name is? I was not ready. I was like,
all the syllables are in that man's name. I also love to set it up in a way that to me feels very Christmassy, because a lot of people, you know, you think of a lot of stories that, you know, surround Christmas time, and the fact that to start it off with, like, as if we're reading this tale. I loved it as the setup for this film. I'll just say that. Like, it added an element to me that made it feel even more, wonder. And just made it more holiday-esque, right? Because, you know, we see that in a lot of other things, but I enjoyed it for this film as well.
Yes. Grandma opens up this beautiful, elaborate book and starts the tale of Geronicus Jangle. So we know Geronicus to be an inventor, a toy maker, and he owns his own shop called Jangles and Things.
The greatest inventor
of all, which I absolutely love too, because if you can't say that you're the greatest inventor of all, who else is going to do it for you, right? And he's, you know, vibrant young man, vibrant shops, which I, again, love so much. The colors. I later found out, fun fact, there's African print in all the costumes. And so,
I can see that.
And then it was David E. Talbert's wife, who was also a producer, Lynn Sesson Talbert, who wanted all the, wanted natural hair. So that's why we get that's beautiful natural hair,
Black hairstyles. Yeah.
So immediately we meet this young, vibrant man who's waiting on this package, and it came. And when they started singing this day, again, I was blown away by the talent of the 2 young people in this scene. And yes, so he's waiting for this final component for his greatest invention of all. And then we break into this beautiful opening this day. And then shortly after that performance, Geronicus goes into his wonderful lab, and this last component creates Don Juan Diego, who's this, frankly, self-absorbed matador doll. Geronicus leaves to celebrate, leaving Diego and the shop under the care of his apprentice, Gustafson. And Diego is pretty upset when he hears that Geronicus wants to mass produce him, because this is supposed to be it. At this point, Geronicus has given away everything in his store, which is already amazing because he's the greatest inventor of all. But he just knew this doll was it. And so this doll convinced Gustafson to not only take him, so he's not mass produced, but he convinced him to borrow indefinitely Geronicus' book of inventions. Mm-hmm. And he does, and Jeronicus finds out, and he's devastated. So
Absolutely.
Ashley, I was really surprised on how this doll was able to have so much consciousness. I was like,
a little strange, wasn't it? A little strange.
It was a lot. I'm like, so it's one thing to be animated, but this doll knows what it means to like.
He's manipulative. He was manipulative.
He Jeronicus is obviously the greatest inventor of all. Because I mean, really, what do you think about this? What do you think about this whole first scene here?
So I definitely have down Black Willy Wonka vibes to begin the film. Yes. That was such a strong feeling for me when we first open and we see jangles and things. Just that feeling I had when I first saw Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory. It was just very fantastical, right? Very visually appealing.
Absolutely.
As far as the Don Juan Diego Matador, I have that little demonic Chucky doll, AKA Don Juan Diego. I said the most arrogant little thing. Wants to be one of a kind. And you know what's funny is the first time I watched this, I had no idea it was Ricky Martin. No idea.
Yes.
I don't know how I missed that for some reason, but when I was watching the credits, I was like, where the heck was Ricky Martin in this? Oh, he was Don Juan Diego. So I think he did such a great job that clearly he went over my head in terms of me referencing it as him as a performer. So, and then the whole Gustafson angle. Why did Gustafson stink, Delora? Remember Don Juan commented on that when he first came to life and was around him. Why was Gustafson living in jangles and things and not showering?
Yes, he was his apprentice, and he's probably, my assumption was that he's a young man, and when you're young, don't prioritize bathing. I don't know. I don't think it's due to I don't think it was because of the lack of resources. I just feel like, he was, probably that mad scientist trying to, because he himself being Jeronicus' apprentice, had dreams of being a great inventor as well.
Because I was so confused. I'm like, so are we saying we hide him up in the dungeon away from everybody and he's up here stinking and not showering?
Like and you could tell that they were trying to play up Jeronicus not having enough time or making enough time for Gustafson, but I think it was just a misinterpretation. I think Jeronicus obviously still cared. He just was prioritizing other things.
Yeah, and he was like a mad genius, right? So, there's certain things that come with that in terms of probably the way his mind works. My last note I had about this, which to your point, I love that you said that about Gustafson being more so just possibly too busy in his mind to shower, because that's what I hope for. I was like, let's not say that we're keeping this man up here and not allowing him basic necessities. But did you feel like when Gustafson stole his life's work that Jeronicus should have fought harder? I mean, they mentioned obviously he reports it to the police, but then it's just like he just lets it go. How did you feel about that?
That's a part where I couldn't really put my finger on it, because I agree wholeheartedly. And I don't know if it was one of those things where Gustafson was there with Jeronicus. Like, I don't know if, Jeronicus had the ideas and Gustafson wrote them all up or something like that. So therefore there was some type of feeling of, I don't know, not ownership, obviously, but it wasn't all his or something. I don't know, because where could they live in a small town. Where could Gustafson have hide and had enough, capital to make, I'm moving forward a little bit, make all the toys in that book. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but it's also a kid's story. So I guess we shouldn't think too hard.
Right. We're supposed to dispel our logic in certain points. But again, I just asked the question because I think that was just a point of frustration for me at that moment in time in the film. Is like, I would have scorched this freaking town down if you possibly would have stolen my ideas and gone off and still live in the same town and go off and profit off of it. Oh, we would have had some problems, sir. Like, it would not have just gone down that easily.
Oh, Ashley. So to your point, without proof of Gustafson's action to show the police, Jangles and Things falls into financial hardship while Gustafson starts his own factory. And sadly, after the death of his wife, Joanne, Jeronicus grows distant from his daughter, Jessica, who moves away.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have a flash forward to 30 years later. Jangles and Things is a failing pawn shop, and Geronicus is has completely lost his creative spark. He gets visited by Miss Johnston, who is sympathetic of his plight and smitten with him, and she tries to lift his spirits with the song Miles and Miles. Ashley. So much has happened in this time, right? So you can see when we see Geronicus as an adult, played by Forrest Whitaker, that he's an empty man, and it's actually quite hard to see.
Yeah. Jangles and Things has turned into a pawn shop.
It's all gray, because before it was so vibrant and alive, and now it's gray.
Keeps the lights dim.
Literally just a little bit of light busting through the ceiling.
Yeah, it was sad.
But Miss Johnson, for you, apparently the MVP. I'm just joking.
No, for sure. I love Miss Johnson to death.
Again,
I love Miss Johnson to death.
I was not ready for that vocal, by the way.
She can sing, can't she? And then her backup singer dancers, like, yes, I've been Googling them, like, where are y'all? Where did y'all come from?
Small.
Listen, loved them.
She's British, and she's been,
I know,
British television, but this is the first time I've ever seen her. So let's talk about this moment. What are your thoughts on Miss Johnston's crush, and why do you love her character so much?
I love her first because, especially at this point in time, again, it's very crushing as the audience to see how far down Geronicus has gone in terms of his path and his life, because of his wife's passing, as well as the betrayal for Gustafson. So she just comes in like this breath of fresh air to me in the film, and it's so light and it's so funny. Calling him Jerry, which he hated. He was like, "Why don't you call me by my name?" Yes. I just love that moment and that banter. And, she was also a widow. So I felt like there was such a relatability between the two of them. And again, that performance is one of my favorite two performances in the entire film. Vocally, she was on point. Yes. I love the setup of everything. I love that these background dancers and singers come up from nowhere. And he's talking, he's like, no, you really have background dancers. Like, it's acknowledged. Like, where did these dudes come from? Like, it's just a funny, interesting moment in the film at a point in time, again, where, you can feel a little, disillusioned about possibly where his journey is going to take us, because he seems like he's gotten to this horrible place. And again, that's why I say loyalty when I talked about my impressions. Loyalty is one of the greatest attributes for me in terms of a person. So at this point in time, I'm so sad and upset by what Gustafson did that I need this moment in the film. I'll say that. So I think that's one of the reasons why Miss Johnson is my favorite. We'll get back to her later. Yes. Yeah, we'll get back to another moment later that really, like, it touched my heart with her, but that's why she brings levity. To your point, she's the comedic factor. She brings levity at times when I need it, because otherwise I would just feel sad about what has happened to Geronicus. Like, he's gone through it. The man has gone through it.
I mean, his life's work as an adult is just soul crushing.
Not just his life's work, his family is it's different. Sometimes you may have family or you may have career. He has neither. His daughter's gone. His what gave him a spark and gave him hope is gone. Yes. I don't know what this man is holding on to right now. Yeah,
and I obviously played extremely well by the wonderful Forrest Whitaker. So Geronicus is visited by banker Mr.
Oh, let me say real quick, I know this is a kid's film, guys. I was not devastated the right way that I'm making it seem. I'm just saying.
Well, you get invested.
It was sad.
Again, it's a great form of escapism. So you go into that world.
Absolutely.
And you feel what's trying to be felt at that time. So I understand.
Yeah. I just want y'all to know I wasn't in tears, but I felt sad.
No.
Go ahead, Dolores. Sorry.
Geronicus is visited by banker Mr. Delacroix, and he's essentially telling him you need to pay your debts or you need to produce something extraordinary, wonderful, or you lose your shop by Christmas. And so that always cracks me up, though, because there's always that pressure in that timeline, like you got to get things done by Christmas.
Let me say this, and white audience members, I apologize, but I felt some type of way about Jeronica's own money tool, the only white character in this whole freaking film. Why is it that the one person that came in and was asking him and had some level of authority or power over him in terms of him owing him money is this white man? Again, it is no offense, but it is worth note. I'm just saying. I felt some type of way.
I have nothing. I have nothing. Nothing. Okay. Meanwhile, we as an audience see that Jessica grew up and she now has a daughter of her own named Journey. And she is such a precocious young girl who enjoys measuring things and you know, being an inventor and, you know, being smart and wonderful. And we get a little bit more insight of her from her song, Not the Only One. And so she realizes that her grandfather is a great inventor as well, but she hadn't met him at this point. And then a letter arrives to Jessica one day from Jeronicus, and
allegedly.
Jessica sends Journey to stay with her grandfather until Christmas. And so upon her arrival, Jeronicus is not really having it. He was like, my granddaughter's name begins with a J. And
it's Jackie.
Like,
Sir.
She's like, I'm Journey. And then she gives him the letter, and then he agrees. But you could tell he's definitely not the same Jeronicus he was from the first time we met him on this day. And so during this time, also, Gustafson is now a famous toy tycoon. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, he has used up all of Jeronicus' inventions. He's produced them all. And so he's now in a bind, and he's now, with the holidays, quote unquote, coming up, needs to unveil a new toy. And since he doesn't have any other inventions to steal, he brings up an old favorite, the Twirly Whirly. And of course, it malfunctions and attacks one of his guests during one of my favorite songs, The Magic NG.
In the face. My God, that was horrific.
So can we talk about Keegan-Michael Key? First of all, he's not a vocalist, but I thoroughly enjoyed this performance, Ashley. What did anything stand out for you in this particular time with him being the official villain of the story and seeing his character and everything?
Damn it, Keegan-Michael Key, you took the sting out of the villain because I love you. Like,
yes!
I think that was the main thing. Was like, Gustafson isn't as bad as he could have been because my heart is already with Keegan-Michael Key. You know, it's
absolutely.
That'd be like, you know, when Denzel plays the villain, okay, but it's Denzel though. You know what I mean?
What did they do? Right.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. Maybe you got a point, Gustafson. You know, that's how I felt. But I wanted to go back real quick and ask you a question about the whole Journey coming to see Jeronicus for the first time. Would you have sent your daughter off by herself to your estranged father's place just with a letter?
Hell no. What is this? No.
I just wanted to get a little clarification around that because I'm like,
someone I had not spoken to.
Yeah, she's very precocious. She's very intelligent. She, you know, obviously is able to handle herself. But I just wondered, as a parent, Delora, how you felt about that scene with her basically going off to town by herself to try to convince this man she's never met that, hey, I'm your granddaughter.
And to do what exactly? I mean, I guess in some ways, yes, you want Journey not to feel alone in, her brilliance, because obviously it's hereditary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't yourself talk to him, why would you send your child miles and miles away? Trying to make another reference of but no, I just thought that was interesting. But again, she handled herself very well in this film. So
him having her sign that paperwork was hilarious to me. You signed it, you're under contract. Like, sir, what?
But her people do some real strange things, and it doesn't matter if you blood or not, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, but the fact that she's a child is what makes it funny to me. Like, I
Absolutely.
can see if I get it. At this point, again, with Gustafson's betrayal, his trust is broken with people. I totally understood it. It was just funny. Like, she's like 9 or 10. Like, you're under contract, you signed it. Like, oh, that's really going to stop a kid from doing something. And then the one scene when he finally is convinced and he's like, you hungry? I have 1 egg, we can split it. Like, I'm just...
I loved it.
I was just cracking up about that whole exchange between the two of them.
He played that grumpy old man very well, for sure.
He did. It was hilarious. But to your point again, Keegan-Michael Key took the sting out of Gustafson for me because I already love Keegan-Michael Key. So
of course,
yes, I know it's been 30 years and he's been stealing these man's inventions. That is horrible.
Obviously making a buku amount of money off of it, because toy maker of the year, toy maker of the year, toy maker of the year, toy maker of the year.
But he seems so spineless. Like, I think that's something that Keegan-Michael Key and the younger Gustafson played so well, is that there's spinelessness to Gustafson, because again, these were not even his original thoughts. It came from Don Juan Diego. And so it's like he has this devil on his shoulder. Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was going to get to, like, after watching it, 1,000,001 times. I'm just like, they really did make the toy the true villain of this. I mean, I guess Geronicus was some hell of an inventor if his own toy is the villain of the actual story here.
I mean, it was a very Frankenstein moment if you think about it.
Ooh, good. I like that. Well said. Well said. Yes. And so, speaking of the devil on his shoulder, Diego convinced Gustafson to steal another invention of Geronicus. My deal is, have y'all not had enough? Y'all
exactly.
I mean, really?
Exactly.
That really made me feel uncomfortable. It's like, y'all already took this man's livelihood and in his face built this elaborate, lavish factory, producing all of his ideas and cutting no check nowhere.
Isn't it something when people continue to steal your identity and what makes you great? Isn't it something?
And they don't know when to stop.
There's some context under those words, people. There's some context there.
Think about it. Geronicus is busy working on this new toy, the Buddy 3000. And, we find out that it was Jessica's invention and design. And
this Buddy, the design of Buddy reminded me, you ever seen Short Circuit, film back in the 80s that was based on like a robot? That's what Buddy reminded me of with Short Circuit.
The articles I read brought it up, but no, I'm not familiar with that film.
You see what? I didn't even read no articles. Listen.
Good job. Okay. I see you. Real talk though, Buddy did remind me a little bit of Wall-E though. That in the design, in the look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love a good robot film too, by the way.
And it's her mom's invention, and he's tinkering on this mechanism. She helps him try to figure out his problem by riding in the air like he did once before when he was a vibrant, young, greatest inventor of all time, to try to figure out how to fix this mechanism. And he looks at her in awe. And he's like, you can see that? And she's like, can't you? And he was like, no, not anymore.
No.
That actually broke my heart a little bit because, you know, it was kind of one of those, it was a time for Geronicus to see in his face like what he once had, you know, and that hope. It's almost like it's not even just the formula, but it was like, you know, the hope, the imagination it takes to do that. And of course you get it in a young kid, right? Because they have the whole world in front of them. Whereas, you know, for
childhood
him,
is so magical. If hopefully, yes, it's magical.
So, Ashley, I want to ask you, how did you feel about the STEM incorporation of this magical world?
I loved it. I loved it so much, and especially loved that the legacy is moving on to women, right? The fact that his daughter and his granddaughter are the future of, you know, his brilliance, and not sons. Not to say that it's not worthwhile and beautiful to see Black men also in that space, but again, we talk to diversity in this film. We talk to being able to see children to be able to see this in this time and in the future and see themselves in it. For Black women to be able to see themselves as these creative, brilliant, beautiful people just really was heartwarming to me. So I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite things about this entire film, because Black women rock. And
we do.
And and Journey, again, because of the way that the little actress played it, and the fact that she was so self-possessed, you know.
Oh my gosh.
It brought me such joy.
And this solo Square Root of Possible, she did the dang on thing, okay? Because when she was performing it, I was like, oh yeah, this is the song. This is the I Am Telling You Right Now, right? Like this musical.
Dreamgirls reference.
When I tell you my little toddler screams on the top of her lungs singing this song, she gets on the couch and stands and do the pose at the end.
Oh,
like this is the first time she saw it, she was in such awe, like seeing this young little girl who looks just like her, you know, dancing and singing, and it was just.
Please don't make me cry. I have not cried yet on this podcast. You're trying to bring it out of me today by talking about the little guys. Delora has the most adorable 2-year-old daughter, and to imagine her standing up on the couch singing her lungs out to this film. I mean, I think that's everything that David and his wife were hoping for and more, right? That's
absolutely.
And don't make me cry. I've been so emotional lately. Don't do this to me.
But Ashley, you know, that's one of the things that, like you said, that was intentional, right? And to think, like, when you think Black Christmas movies, when I really think about it, there aren't any that are kid rated, really. Like, am I missing something?
No, I mean, I think they were absolutely right when they talked about the fact that this is the first of its kind. When I think back, especially to my childhood, right? Again, the Santa Claus is my favorite childhood movie. That does not center around any characters of color. No. So, you know, again, this is something that I look forward to hopefully being passed down, and for more movies, especially again, as we get into positions of power,
instant
to be able to
classic.
Be created. Yeah.
Instant classic for sure. Again, like I said, when I even after I finished it the first time, it went down in my Rolodex next to Brandy Cinderella. Okay.
Yeah.
You have no idea you probably do, how important that movie was for me in my childhood. Okay.
You're talking about two of my favorite female singers, my idol of Whitney Houston.
Yes.
And then Brandy, who at the time,
episode. I love
first of all, Whitney can get love every single episode if it was up to me. She was, the epitome for me of like Black women excellence and beauty when I was a kid. And let me say that too, because I know Whitney did not necessarily always see herself in that light. Whitney Houston was gorgeous to me.
Absolutely.
When I used to see her in The Bodyguard, I used to rewind. First of all, I used to have The Bodyguard back on VHS, and we used to have to put that in the rewinder. And we had a little car rewinder. That movie has gotten so much love. Again, I can still quote it to this day. She's the queen
of soundtracks, because we talked about Preacher's Wife, epic.
The Bodyguard.
That was Bodyguard, Waiting to Exhale.
First of all, Waiting to Exhale, when I tell you I recently listened to that again in the car, I was like, oh my God, Babyface produced. I forgot how Babyface, listen, first of all, everything Babyface touches is excellent. Not to get us off on a tangent.
No remakes, Babyface.
Listen, and when the Waiting to Exhale, they're gonna do a series now. Like, Babyface, if you don't produce that music, I'm gonna be very upset. Because
like Jon Snow, I don't want it.
I'm gonna need y'all to come all the way. If y'all are gonna touch this, which is a Black classic, I'm gonna need you to come all the way with it. Because again, you're talking about people that I have loved and admired as Black women. You have Angela Bassett in that film. You have Leela Rashawn in that film. You have Whitney Houston in that film. You know, it's just to think that, you know, you guys are gonna try to recreate that. I'll be very curious as to who they cast. But regardless, Whitney Houston is the GOAT. She will always be the GOAT. And I love you to death. I don't even remember what we were talking about before this, but Whitney, I love you to death.
Just how important this movie is and how Madeline Mills is a star. She's an absolute star. And fun side note before I go back into the recap, she recently got signed to a major agency. So she did this movie and she wasn't even signed, Ashley. Like, wow.
Well, you know, I read that most of the young talent, most of the kids found this through social media, through Twitter and through Instagram. So I could actually see that. I'm missing one cast member from Waiting to Exhale that I just had to mention because I would be rude to not. Of the main cast, Loretta Devine.
I was about to say,
think of her name all of a sudden. But first of all, Loretta, you deserve it. Did you ever see her when she was in did the arc in not Deliverance from Eva, but Gabrielle Union's show that was on BET that I can't think of the name right now. Thank you. She deserved an Emmy for that performance. That performance was amazing. I don't know if you saw that, but
I mean, you know, I've seen Being Mary Jane.
Yeah, Loretta.
She always does art. Loretta is also everywhere, by the way, because she's in my baby girl show, Doc McStuffins.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, get that check, Loretta.
I just say that to say that was no disrespect of leaving you out originally, Loretta. We got you. Sorry, Delora. That was all a sidetrack. Back to the recap.
So the square root of possible is essentially Journey's way of trying to figure out, you know, the missing pieces to helping out, you know, Geronicus, because that's, I guess, one of his formulas that he never, you know, completed or something like that. And that night she meets Edison, who is Geronicus' assistant. And we met him previously, but we really get to know him when he meets Journey, and they both stumble upon Body, and then they put that mechanism that they were working on into Buddy, and Buddy comes alive. It is such a wonderful scene full of magic and wonder, like this whole movie. And before you know it, Journey and Edison, Journey herself was flying with Buddy. And one of the missing elements was belief, because you learn that quickly, because as soon as Geronicus comes in the room, Buddy clams up real quick. And unfortunately, the same night that Diego and Gustafson were talking about stealing Geronicus, you know, another idea from Geronicus, they see the kids playing with Buddy. And so they're now on a mission to get this toy. But so with Geronicus coming into the room, Buddy is now, you know, back in the form that he was before. And so Geronicus thinks the kids are just, you know, talking randomly, like, oh, Buddy is alive. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's not doing anything.
He said, didn't I tell you not to touch anything?
And he sends Journey to bed. And Ashley, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that Forrest was cast in a musical, I'm just like, to sing? Like, what is he gonna be doing, right? But this song, Over and Over, I literally shed a couple of tears, and it gets me every time I watch it, because he talks about how his life could have been, and how his wife and his daughter was so much in his life, and they were his inspiration. And when he lost everything, he lost them too. And is he a singer? No. But did he bring the actor to this song? Yes. 1,000 times yes, in my opinion. Ashley, what do you think about him being so self-aware in this moment?
I mean, again, as an audience member, we are fully aware, right, of everything that he's lost and how it has shaped him into the person he is. I think it's nice because you start to wonder if he has gone down the hole so far that he can no longer see the light that was once there. So I think it's nice to know that he, as a character right now, still understands where his pain comes from, and then possibly maybe can move past it and move through it. I love these Peter Pan flying moments that we had leading up to this, as I called them. I remember David Talbert saying he got emotional the first time that he inevitably sees Forrest flying. So it was very impactful for me, again, just from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think it's again, gives me as an audience member in this moment hope that, like, okay, at least, you know, they always say, what do they say, that the first thing to kind of getting over something is to acknowledge it. So at least he's acknowledging where his pain and where the deterioration of him has come from, and then maybe we can all move through it.
And if you think about it, he probably would not have come to this moment if his granddaughter hadn't visited.
Yes, little journey.
So her visit is doing something.
Stirring something within.
Stirring something within. So the next day, they are in this wonderful town. There's fresh snow on the ground, and they go into this epic snowball fight.
My second favorite performance of the film.
First of all, there's two things I really want to mention. Forrest Whitaker dancing, I laughed out loud. Seriously. And not out of laughing at him, but it just was a giggle, like, he's trying. Look at him. Look at him. He was cute. He was cute. And can we talk about how they infused Afro beats? That's
why it was one of my favorite performances. I love the kids.
Oh my gosh.
The whole sequence was very cute.
Yes. Go ahead. Elaborate some more.
No, that's really all I have. It was just one of my, it's just one of my favorite scenes for that reason. Again, because it's one of the first times too you see Forrest and Journey's bond. You start to see him, you know, move past, you know, some of the feelings that he had and the reservations he had about her. And you see them, you know, starting to move forward in their relationship. And then again, the music was dope. I love the kids dancing. I love seeing kids dance across the board. That's why I used to love Missy Elliott's videos so much, because she always had the best little children dancers. So yeah, I just loved it. As it's one of my second favorite dance sequence in the film.
And to your point earlier, the only other time we see a white man is this police officer who gets hit by Geronicus with a snowball, and then the first thing he does is put out his hands. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, but I don't know. Anyway,
I'm sure a lot of this is intentional. Again, this is not to say that I think that David or any of the creators of this were not aware of it. Again, these moments, obviously, as Black people, give us pause and we reflect on them.
Of course.
So we are just calling out attention to it, guys, especially those non-minorities who may be listening to the podcast, just of note, as you may not have been thinking about this scene, but here's our perspective. So
absolutely,
that's what it is.
So Gustafson is on a mission now to get his hands on Buddy 3000, and we hear him roll up on Edison. I was really nervous at this point because at this moment in time, I wasn't sure if Edison had ratted out.
First he rolled up on Journey. Remember? First he tried Journey. Yeah, because he tried her when he was. When they were out on the steps.
Yes, for whatever reason, I thought that was second. Yes, and Journey was like, again, brilliant, self-possessed. And she was just like, I don't know what you're talking about, sir, but have a great night.
Mm-hmm. I have work to do. I have to get back to the shop.
To do.
Did you feel like Gustafson hit a new low in that moment to approach a child like that?
Absolutely, Ashley.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I hate to use this analogy, but it's like he was on drugs and is like, oh, he got to get his hand on something because he's not going to be able to get, his high of being Toy Maker of the Year for another year after 30 years. So, the desperation was absolutely showing, and it showed up again when he rolled up on Edison, put that kid in a freaking, was it a crate?
He tied him up.
And I'm just, and then it's just so disheartening. But Gustafson takes the toy without it even working, and he's ready to present it. But one of the things that I have to say about Keegan's performance in this moment, when he was getting ready to introduce the Buddy 3000 to investors, and the guy was ratting off all of his quote unquote accomplishments, the look on his face of like, it was almost like a combination of him knowing that he's an imposter, him knowing that he's a failure, him knowing that, he does not deserve all this praise that this guy is hyping him up to before he walks out to present this toy. That look, I'm like, that look right there, that is acting, sir. Well done.
It is. Again, damn you, Keegan. You take the sting out of this man.
Yes, he does.
Because you make him still a human being. You realize that he still has his own conscience to have to deal with behind the scenes. He has to go to bed with the decisions that he's made.
Absolutely. And he's definitely staying up late at night over these decisions. Okay. And so he presents this toy, and guess what, Ashley? It doesn't work because Gustafson doesn't have the faith or, the faith to believe for this toy to work. And so, it's absolutely embarrassing for him, and his investors laugh at him and walk out the door. And, this is an all-time low for him, right? Because at this point he has nothing, right? And he orders Buddy 3000 to be destroyed. Journey and Edison, they realize that it's missing, so they go
to the factory
to
try to recover it.
Exactly. And then Geronicus realizes the kids are gone, and he enlists help from Ms. Johnston.
If you getting in this car, you Jerry. If you getting in my car, you Jerry. Okay.
And
she's hilarious.
He even went as far as to getting the mistletoe or something.
That comes later. That comes later.
Thank you. And but she was there. She was like, okay, I'll drive you to the factory. But the kids are in the factory. They find Buddy and they try to escape. And of course it takes Diego to tell Gustafson that if the toy didn't work, these kids wouldn't be here trying to steal it. And so it's this epic, chase and, runaway moment for Edison and Journey.
There's fire, there's blades, there's a lot of danger.
And to your point again, the elaborate, I love how elaborate the factory is and how beautiful and all the green. I told David the first time we watched it, I'm like, this is definitely giving me Emerald City vibes. Okay. And
let me say too about the sets real quick that I could see how this could easily translate to stage though. I think, David Talbert's stage experience.
You do know he originally wanted it to be a stage musical, but then he didn't have the budget he wanted for it to come to life. And then he decided to bring it to the film. So yes, but there's still a possibility that it'll be to stage, FYI.
Absolutely.
So.
And I mean, I could see it throughout the entirety, you know, the fact that they limited the locations such where you can easily see it translating to stage.
Well said. Yes. The kids are now in the tunnel and they're trying to get out, but the fan starts, the big factory fan starts turning. And luckily, Geronicus is right at the outside end of that tunnel and where that fan is. And the kid, he hears Journey. And they're like, we can't go back. We need to go forward. I need for you to do an equation so we'll know how fast we need to go to make it through these blades. First of all, this is terrifying. I cannot deal with the idea of flying through blades. What?
Yeah.
What? And of course, this is a pivotal moment in the story because something awakens in Geronicus that has been dormant for so long. And in my mind, I like to call it love, right? Love and caring for his granddaughter and panic and fear because
the pressure of the moment for sure. How am I going to get my granddaughter and my little apprentice, because Edison was his apprentice,
absolutely,
out of this situation? Because it was a kid's movie, I think at this moment I knew it was going to work out, but it was definitely like, this is horrifying that y'all have to go through these blades and try to run away from a fire. So thank you guys for that suspenseful little moment.
Thank you. But it also was one of the most wonderful, you could tell that David is definitely an 80s kid because you have that moment of like, you know, intense pressure, but something happens, like E.T. phone home type of situation, right?
You watched The Goonies a couple times.
Ashley. And so Geronicus, you know, motivated to protect the kids in the tunnel, is able to get his glowing formulas to working. And he told Journey the square root of possible. Mm-hmm. And she knew exactly what they needed to do, and they ride on this crate. And of course, the way they were going was too fast. And Buddy comes alive in this moment because the kids needed Buddy the most in this moment. And Buddy comes through to slow down. So they go through the blades at the exact right speed.
Hallelujah.
And they make it safe and they land on a bank of snow.
And that's magic.
And that was magical. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the point where the next day, Geronicus, the kids, and a very busted up Buddy made it home safely. And Geronicus is now determined to make Buddy work again. And in the same moment, Jessica, Journey's mom, is on her way to see her father for the first time in a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so the song Make It Work is essentially a double entendre because, you know, Geronicus is now inspired enough to work on his inventions, and then Jessica is hoping to make it work with her father because she hadn't spoken, you know, they're estranged. Can we take a moment and talk about Anika Noni Rose's voice in this song? Ashley, I didn't know she had the range. I did not know she had the range. And I say this to say, she didn't blow like this in Princess and the Frog. She didn't blow like this in Dreamgirls. Like, she hit those notes and I was like, I wasn't ready. I was like, this you, girl? That's you?
Clearly she's been saving a little bit just to stun you. But I mean, I've never gotten to see her perform on stage. So to what extent, obviously some of this comes out when she does her stage performances.
Obviously.
She's, you know, multi-hyphenate, highly talented. So it didn't shock me at all, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But to your point, I love Anika Noni Rose. I love her vocals. I love the, again, additional talent that she brings to the fold in terms of musicality. Because when I think of a musical, I do want to hear people who can blow.
Absolutely.
And thankfully, Anika comes, she brings church.
Who have the range.
She brought church to that moment, you know. Yes, I felt it.
And that dance break was everything. Okay.
Yeah, it was a moment that reminded me of The Greatest Showman. The Greatest Showman is really my last favorite musical that I saw.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Did you know that it's the same choreographer? You're welcome.
I would imagine. It was on point.
Ashley, when I found out that it was the same, because The Greatest Showman is another musical that is played quite often in this household because of the love that everyone in this household, we just love it. But I also realized that the production designer is the same one for Stardust, and that's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Because they do such a great job creating this whimsical, magical world, right?
The Greatest Showman was phenomenal. I saw it in theaters and I came out like, that was
amazing,
epically great.
Exactly. But to your point, when I found out these people part of this project and they are part of other projects that I absolutely love, I'm like, this musical was definitely in good hands. So, and the last part with the dance break, it definitely was giving me some Michael Jackson vibes of.
Oh yeah, Thriller. It seemed a little Thriller-esque.
Yes,
yeah, I caught that as well.
Yes.
Can I say the scene where the letters come dropping out reminding me of The Notebook? In my mind, I was like, I wrote you every day for a year.
Yes.
I wrote you 365 letters because when all those letters came tumbling out that he wrote to Jessica when she thinks he has never written to her.
Exactly. And that was the point. So shortly after this song, Jessica finally sees Jeronicus for the first time in a very long time. And they finally have the much needed heart to heart. And Jeronicus reveals that he had been writing her, but he just could not send it in the mail. And then we find out that the letter that was sent to Jeronicus was actually written by Journey.
She's too smart, guys. She's too smart.
Too smart. And what is beautiful about this moment is they were able to reconcile, and they all work together on Buddy to make sure he works because, as we mentioned before, this was Jessica's original creation and design. And so, you know, great minds come together to create such a wonderful toy. Jeronicus and his family are now confronted by Gustafson, Diego, and the police. And Gustafson is accusing Jeronicus for selling Buddy. And Journey, being the smart girl that she is, she said, you know, we didn't steal Buddy from you. And you know, Gustafson has no idea what she's talking about. And she used the invisible ink that Jeronicus used on her to write property of Jeronicus Jangle on the designs for Buddy. And in that moment, it was then Gustafson who gets arrested for lying. And Jeronicus was able to power down Diego finally. The one thing that Diego has been fighting against for the past 30 years. And
that little devil of a doll. My God.
And in this same moment, Jeronicus kept that gift that he was going to give Gustafson. And it was the last component he needed for his twirly whirly. That hit me in a way that I didn't expect it to. What do you think about the fallout with Gustafson? Is it a little too late? Is it sweet revenge? Like, what is it to you?
Of all the notes I wrote, this was the most the longest in this scene. I wrote, I wanted to slap the dog shit out of Michael Keaton when he tried to come back and claim Buddy.
The audacity of it all.
The audacity. And then my question really in this scene was, as an audience member, was the conscience of his own burden enough, or did we feel like he deserved a bigger punishment? I wrote, if this was a Tyler Perry film, the wrath would have been crazy. Remember remember in the one film with Journey Smollett, she got AIDS and a limp. You know what I mean? Like, yes. I was just curious as to, you know, because as an audience member, again, Keegan-Michael Key played it so well that I could see the torment, but did that necessarily satisfy me given the
It didn't cut not one check.
No, given the level to which he stole this man's, you know, not legacy. Only, it's not just about wealth. Thank you. It's more than about the money for me. It's about the audacity of you stealing this man's, you know, ideas and his, who he essentially was as a human being. His inventions were who he was.
Yes. And for me, the money is just the bare minimum of it all, right?
Exactly. You can't give me these 30 years back that I've been living like this. You know, my wife, now they never claimed, obviously there's a connection between his wife's death and what they were going through, but one could say that the stress of the situation could have amplified whatever illness she may have had. Easily,
Ashley.
So yeah, it was a very pivotal scene to me. And again, Keegan, you're the only reason why I felt even a little sorry or a little type of way about Gustafson. So good for you, sir. Because otherwise, usually I say kill him. Usually, you know, I'm cutthroat. Kill him.
And in that same moment, you know, it's so well acted. You kind of feel a little bit something to Gustafson because he was like, oh, this was the component, you know, and you weren't overlooking me. I could, and Geronicus told him, he was like, I would have taught you everything.
Giving you everything. That's why patience is a virtue, is it not?
Such a vet. Preach. So Ashley, Dr. Delacroix arrives to the shop and he's looking for that awesome, you know, miraculous thing that Geronicus honestly has been promising him for quite some time. And he sees Buddy. And then Buddy starts a flying, and so does Geronicus and Edison. And it is such a wonderful, wonderful moment in the story. And of course, the banker promised him as much money as he ever wants because, you know.
Again, I wrote a Delacroix, reference my earlier statement.
And then we are now taking out, you know, back to Grandma and the two kids. And it is then revealed that the story was real and it wasn't just some fairy tale, and that Grandma is Grandma Journey, Ashley. What did you think about that? Because my initial,
the film gets an A- for me. Go ahead.
For me, I thought Grandma was Jessica originally.
Oh, okay.
So, and then of course they go flying. Buddy is still very much alive and well. Geronicus was able to take over Gustafson's factory, and then it became Jingles and things on a much larger scale, and he was able to create many, many other toys, and they all lived happily ever after. So A-. Come on, Ashley, spill it.
Yeah, I mean, so they know their grandmama's name. Like, you know, your grandmama's name was Journey. That was a little confusing to me.
Some kids don't know their grandmother's names.
So to that point, I would feel that if it was a different generation. The generation we are in now, you're going to know your grandmother's name.
Yes.
Like, that was a little far-fetched to me. And then, where have you been storing these children that they had never seen this shop that you could see out your window?
That and the storybook. They said, you know, have you ever read this story before? She's like, no, I've never shared this story before. And I thought that was interesting. Yeah, so that's again, a good point.
That's why,
like, y'all ain't never took tours.
So you don't know family. When the last time you done been around your grandmama? When the last time you done looked out a window? Y'all hiding these kids down in the dungeon? Like,
because
again,
that factory is pretty prominent in that little town.
Girl,
you can't miss it.
Y'all looking out the window in wonder. So you've never looked out your window before, is what you're telling me. Again, that's why I got A-, because I'm so about a great ending. And again, the magicalness of it, it was still fun and beautiful to kind of wrap it up, but those questions lingered in my adult mind. Again, I know I'm approaching it with an adult mind, but those questions linger for me. Otherwise, great job, David Talbot, your wife, John Legend, all of you guys I cannot wait if I have children to show this film to my kids.
Ashley, I will say, as much as I've gushed over this movie for quite some time now at this point, my only reservations I have about this whole musical is the fact that I don't feel like the lyrics to the songs are easy to remember.
Okay.
And there's not enough repetitiveness. There's not that many chorus moments where
this is not a Disney film, you can tell.
It is not. Honestly, it looked like a Disney film when I honestly, that was part of my notes. I was like, so this is Netflix? This you? Like, this ain't some Disney magical kingdom moment? Like, that's how splashy it was. But again, David E. Talbert took this to Disney and other places, and they did not want to give him the money. And, I'm actually quite impressed with Netflix. He said one of the executives told him, the budget is your imagination. Girl.
As a content creator, because we are now content creators.
We are.
That just like made my stomach jump. Like I felt something in my stomach because again, as we spoke to about Shonda Rhimes, her move from ABC over to Netflix, the idea of that level of range and capacity to explore and to create to your heart's desire. Oh, that must have been such a breathtaking moment for him.
Talbert said it took him 3 days to even get to the point where he wasn't thinking about a budget because he had been he said it, and I'm paraphrasing, he's been so used to saying the budget is $2, and if it's $2.25, the 25 cents is on you. So he had never been offered that ever, and he said that he's never going back. And I'm like, yes, sir.
Chills. I'm getting
yes,
chills.
Sir.
My gosh. Well, good for you, Netflix. Good for you for, first of all, having the capacity to do so, because I know you've raised my now monthly my monthly fee. So yes. Okay. But no, I think that is wonderful. Again, as a content creator, and for him to be able to really make this obviously what we now have been able to see as audience is very satisfying. So I'm happy for them. I'm excited by this. I hope to see many, many more films like this in the future. And yes. Great job on the recap, Laura.
To the point of the songs not being as easy to remember, I wish it were, but I still give it an A+. But in the credits, it's the wonderful Usher who sings This Day.
Yes,
the first
Ush.
song.
Yes,
he does an amazing job. It's such a great song. And that's the end of our recap.
Yay.
Ashley, are you ready for some hidden gems?
I'm ready. My first hidden gem, The Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives. Discovered this on Netflix randomly. I don't really watch much reality TV these days, but this pulled me in because I kind of like to see different cultures, different places, especially in 2020 when I've been able to travel. And this really focuses on 4 friends who are like friends of 25 plus years who, you know, they're the wives of different Bollywood actors. One of them is an actress herself. One of the producers, I guess, was a producer of Real Housewives of Atlanta on this. So you get to see them kind of have these fabulous travel adventures, see some beautiful destinations. They did this like rooftop little moment that was gorgeous in a different place. Like it was just luscious in terms of the scenery. Seema, you were my favorite girl. I just want you to know. They did some heavy Kardashians references in this, even to the point that one of the daughters.
That's why I was a little hesitant.
One of the daughters got a shout out from Kylie for her birthday, but they only made reference. They drop a couple of gems in there for the Kardashians. Otherwise,
they're reality TV star golden, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the freaking Kardashians. So, you know, you can understand why they included that element in the show. But I mean, they have some real star power in there because some of the articles I read weren't the most kind, saying like, oh, these are all like the washed up Bollywood people. But one of the like biggest stars of Bollywood was in this. And I saw he actually did one of David Letterman's, when David Letterman sits down one-on-one with folks, he had one of those interviews on Netflix. So, you know, there's still a lot of star power. And again, I just enjoyed the adventure with these 4 ladies. I thought they were a lot of fun. And again, Seema, love you, girl. You're fabulous. My second hidden gem is Ted Lasso on Apple TV. Delora, I told you about this. This show kept me up till 3 a.m. This was a hidden gem of Apple TV. The only reason why I have Apple TV is because I started a 7-day free trial because I thought I needed to see the Mariah Carey Christmas special. Ted Lasso was the thing that made my 7-day free trial worthwhile.
Whoa.
It's starring Jason Sudeikis. It actually is inspired by an NBC promo spot that they did 2 of, that he portrayed this role and they picked it up and took it from there. So he is a coach of football in America and gets asked to become a coach of soccer in England, having no idea anything about soccer whatsoever. And it's such like a strong, not lighthearted necessarily, but a lot of heart that just goes into the show that I just wasn't expecting from like a sports series. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Do I necessarily think it's worth paying Apple TV prices for? No, but if you happen to do a 7-day free trial, I highly recommend using it to watch Ted Lasso. It's 10 episodes, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Jason, I know y'all are going to do a season 2. I look forward to it. So those are my 2 hidden gems of this week.
Thank you, Ashley.
Of course.
All right. So I have 2 hidden gems. The first would be, it's kid themed since this is a kid movie that we just recapped. Green Eggs and Ham, the series, is a Netflix original series. Is actually executive produced by Ellen DeGeneres. Fun fact.
Interesting.
But it's an animated series, 10 episodes, lots of fun. It's obviously an adaptation of my favorite Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham. And Keegan Michael Key is the narrator of the show. So I thought I'd just go ahead and tie that in. And my second gem is the soundtrack to Jingle Jangle, Christmas Journey. So it's like 37 minutes. It's on constant repeat in this household, and I enjoy it thoroughly. When I first saw the movie, my favorite songs were This Day and The Square Root of Possible. But since listening to the soundtrack with my toddler, our family's favorite is Magic Man G, performed by Keegan Michael Key, because it brings in gospel elements and the stump clap moment. It is a blast. and of course everyone was just such a great movie, great soundtrack. So highly recommend.
All right, well, awesome though. So we have wrapped our 10th episode. Woo-hoo! As we mentioned, super excited. We are taking a break next week, guys, so we can enjoy the holiday season with our family. It is my birthday.
Ashley. Thank
you so much. My Jesus year. I'm super excited. But guys, we thank you again for sticking with us, for listening to us. Enjoy the holidays with your family, whatever that may look like in 2020. If you have feedback, if you want to send us, a message, you want to send us some audio, please do. We will include it in our future episodes. Please follow us on all the things. We are at Recapping Podcast.
Yes.
And Delora, as always, it has been a pleasure. You are the highlight of my week. I love you so much.
Yes, I love you too. You too, Ashley. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad we're doing this.
Me too, honey. Me too. Well, guys, see you next time. And for our last show of the year, if you have not watched it, please watch The Undoing. We're going to be having our first special guest, one of my best friends, on the show. So looking forward to that. And we will see you guys then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.